Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we have my August TBRs to go through. I'm a little bit late making this video, but I did pick 36 books on this month's TBR, including romance, thriller, nonfiction, fantasy, a little bit of everything, so let's get right into it. The largest stack by far is thrillers, so let's go through these first. First up, we have The Bachelorette Party. I think this has been on my TBR for 3 months in a row now, so if this doesn't happen this month, I don't know if it ever will. I really need to read this. It sounds so good. It's set on a remote island where this group of friends goes on a secret trip every year. They don't tell anyone else where they're going, but they all disappear during this one trip. And then we time jump 10 years later where there's a bachelorette trip happening on that same island, and the girls are starting to piece together that something sinister happened and solve that mystery from many years before. Next up, we have High Season, which is an arc that comes out in August, and it follows this girl who many years ago when she was 5 years old became the youngest girl to ever testify in a French murder trial. Now, she testified that she witnessed her babysitter basically drown her older sister, and now it's been so many years later and she's starting to question whether she actually saw that or whether that was just planted in her head. It sounds like a really twisty book, and I'm halfway through this one as I'm recording this and really enjoying this. Next up, we have One of Us, which is a horror thriller book about these two siblings who are basically on the run. They're trying to escape from their uncle. They've never really felt like they had a family or a place to call home until they find refuge in this traveling circus. It seems like their uncle is going to start to catch up to them. It says it's going to be a singularly creepy celebration of the strange and the spectacular and of family in its many forms, and we love a found family trope. Then we have Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. I am 50 pages, not even, I'm 30 pages into this book, and I went in blind and I don't want to know a ton about this one, but just follow a woman whose sister 22 years ago disappeared without a trace. Days later, her blood was found in a car, so they arrested that person, case closed, moving on. This woman's headed back to her hometown, and this is as far as I've gotten in the story. She's headed there because of her mother kind of needing help, and while she's there, I think she's going to start to piece together that maybe that case wasn't closed correctly and maybe something else happened to her sister, and she's going to get to the bottom of it. Next up, we have a whole stack of Frida McFadden's books, and I've read all of her books except for these 4, so I realized I only have 4 left. I love her books. Why not read the rest of them this month? And then I've read every single Frida book, and I can do a fun ranking video. But the ones I have left are the satirical novella, The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie, 2 books in the Housemaid series. I loved the first book so much and just didn't love the second book, so I've been putting off reading these. But we have the 3rd book, which is The Housemaid is Watching, and then the novella that was published, I think, after this book, but it actually goes in between book 2 and 3, so I need to figure out which order to read these 2 in. And then lastly, for the Frida books, we have The Ex. Now, I can't tell you anything about these because I always go into Frida's books blind. I think that the back of the books always tells you way too much about the story, so catch me never reading them. Then we have Departure 37, which is said to be a blend of coming of age and horror. It sounds so haunting. Basically, on this one day, no planes are flying. Pilots are absolutely refusing to step foot inside of airplanes. It says that they received disturbing middle of the night calls from their mothers, and each mother had a simple and urgent request: do not fly today. It's gonna have old buried mysteries from the Cold War come back to the surface. It sounds so intriguing, and I've read one other book by this author called Lost Man's Lane and really loved it, so I'm super excited for this. Speaking of authors I've read books of before, we have The Devil's Advocate. This is a legal thriller in the series called the Eddie Flynn series. You don't have to read them in any sort of order. Basically, the reason they're a series is because they follow the same lawyer named Eddie Flynn, but there's no plot furthering along that makes you have to read them in an order. But they're always super fun, and if you don't think you like legal thrillers, I think you should give them a try because the plot is not like any other legal thriller I've read. They're very unique and page-turning, and you get to know the characters so well in each book while you try to piece together what actually happened. This one says he's won every trial because he's planned every murder, which sounds so fun. Next up, we have One Dark Night by Hannah Ritchell, and this one's a spooky season thriller. It takes place on Halloween night in this small town in England. Basically, on this night, a bunch of teenagers kind of secretly meet up to have a party in the woods. It's the same woods that right next to where they're at is very steeped in local lore. It's called Sally in the Woods, and it's basically rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a girl who was killed long ago. Now, the next day, the town wakes up and one of those teenagers is found dead, and they're trying to get to the bottom of what happened to them. Seems like everybody has secrets, told on multiple point of views. I finished this book on the first of the month and absolutely devoured it, so highly recommend reading it. The next one on my TBR is You Don't Belong Here, or You Belong Here. I think the book's actually called You Belong Here, and I always say You Don't Belong Here because that's what the cover has, but I don't think that word's supposed to be in the title. This one follows a woman who never wanted to go back to her hometown, and she finds out that her teenage daughter secretly applied to the college that she went to without her knowing. She got in and she's gonna go there. This means that she has to go back to that town too. When she was in college, something happened there that resulted in a couple of people dying, and her best friend going on the run, never to be seen again. And so I think she's gonna have to confront her past in this book. I love Megan Miranda's book, so I already know this is gonna be amazing. Next up is The Confessions, which sounds so crazy and amazing. In this book, millions of letters are going to arrive in the mail. It says murders are uncovered, affairs revealed, family secrets exposed. These are the first confessions. This is our last chance. That's just like the mini hook here. That's all I want to know going into this one. It just sounds so much fun. And then lastly for thrillers, we have Dead of Summer by Jessa Maxwell. I love this author so much. This is her new release that just came out, I think in July. And this one takes place on like a summer vacation island. There's this very wealthy family that used to always have a summer party every year. That is until something happened that resulted in a death many years ago. And it seems like this summer, 15 years later, all those buried secrets are going to come back to the surface, and we're going to figure out what actually happened at that fateful party. Let's move on to fantasy. We have 4 fantasy books this month. I don't have a copy of the new Brandon Sanderson Secret Project, but I am planning to listen to this one on audio. I'm obsessed with his books, and my husband and I are both planning to read this one, so it'll be a fun little buddy read together. And fun fact, his secret projects, like, honestly, the Stormlight Archives are untouched. Like, that's, to me, like, objectively his best books. But his secret projects are among my favorite. Like, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is my favorite book of all time. Trust of the Emerald Sea, like, God tier. I loved the Wizard's, like, Handbook to Surviving Medieval England. Is that what it's called? Something like that. I loved that. I know that one's, like, less loved than the others. I haven't read The Sunlit Man yet because I haven't finished the last book in Era 2 of Mistborn. I've been, like, putting it off because I know I'm gonna love it and I just don't want to be done with the series. But anyways, my long rambly way of saying that his secret projects are so amazing, so I'm just like, I have the highest expectations for this and I hope it does not disappoint. The next fantasy book that I'm reading is Warrior Princess Assassin. This one's a romantasy book. It says it's about 3 characters torn between chasing, betraying, and craving, a princess caught between duty and desire, the fearsome warrior king she's promised to, and the assassin tasked with hunting them down. That sounds wild. Then we have Macabre, which is a debut adult fantasy book. This one's a standalone, so it's not part of a series, and it blends art history, time, and globe-hopping adventure. It's supposed to be a blend of dark horror and fantasy, and it's about 10 cursed paintings and the lengths that people will go to collect them, destroy them, or to be destroyed. And then lastly for fantasy, we have this tiny little fantasy novella. It's called The Winter Witch. I don't know anything about this. It's like not even 100 pages, so I'm gonna fly through this, and it's part of like a series, but I think I can read this by itself. It says it's an Enchantment Realm novella, so we'll see. It says a magical quest and a kitten who can't stay out of trouble. I think that's what sold me on it. That sounds so cute. Next up for young adult books, we have 5, which is like way more than normal, but the first one's Summer Girls, and I felt like I had to read this in August, otherwise it's not gonna happen until next year. But it's set in like a summery island where a local girl has a rule to like never date summer girls. She doesn't like them. They're only there for the summers. They're like super rich and wealthy and like privileged. And then our other main character is a summer girl who's there. She's kind of like grounded all summer. Her dad basically sets her up with a babysitter, which is that local girl. He offers to pay that local girl to basically like watch over her for the summer. Of course, they're gonna fall in love along the way. The other young adult books that I'm reading are the entire Naturals series. I just finished and obsessed, ate up every single page of the Naturals, which is book 1. And then of course we have the rest of the series. Like, I have a very bad habit of reading book 1 in a series, and even if I love it, not picking up book 2 for like years. I probably have 20 series that I'm in the middle of right now. It's bad, and I plan to read all of those. I'm not like stopping the series, but this is one I don't want to do that with because I just finished this and loved it, so I'm really going to try to just make an effort to just read through all of them this month. So we'll see if that actually happens though. This next section is romance books. We have kind of quite the stack of this one, not quite as much as the thrillers, but still a hefty amount. The first one we have is Every Step She Takes. This is the same author as Kiss Her Once for Me, which is one of my favorite romance books ever. This one's a sapphic romance about a woman who is going on like this trek in Portugal. It was supposed to be her sister who went on it, but her sister got injured. Her sister's an influencer, so she's going on this like all expenses paid trip to basically take the content for her sister to use. And she ends up falling in love along the way. She meets somebody on the plane and like professes like all of her buried secrets to her, only to find out that that woman is also going to be on the journey with her too. Next up, we have a book that I didn't know existed until this week, and it became arguably like the book I'm most excited for to read in August. It just looks so cozy and cute in fall. It's called The Honeycrisp Orchard Inn, and like I've just stared at this cover for way too long. I'm obsessed. It follows this young event planner who returns to her family's inn that's on an apple orchard to help them run their like harvest festival in the fall. It says she's gonna find herself butting heads with the handsome son of the apple orchard's owner. So it's gonna be like a, not, I don't know, enemies to lovers sounds a little severe for this, but again, the fall vibes in this, I really hope this doesn't disappoint because it just looks like so much fun. I'm planning to read this week. Next up, we have Sweet Heat, which I've heard a lot of buzz around in the last couple of weeks. I think it comes out either end of this month or the beginning of September, but it's a second chance romance. It says that 2 exes are going to one summer wedding, so it's going to be like a forced proximity situation. The FMC is a popular podcaster, and she's the maid of honor in the wedding, and she finds herself face to face with the best man who is her ex. Next up, we have a baseball romance by Tessa Bailey. It's her new book called Picture Perfect. This is the ARC copy, but it comes out in September. The tropes in this one, I didn't realize this is also a hockey romance. So the MMC is a hockey player, the FMC is a softball player. It's enemies to lovers, opposites attract, ginger MMC, and has fake dating, which is one of my favorite tropes. Next up, we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I actually started this book last month, and I got like halfway through before my library loan just returned. I didn't realize it was expiring soon, so that was just my bad. But I'm definitely gonna plan to read this month. I got back in line at the library, and I think my audiobook came back in, so this one's like a diver college romance, and I was really enjoying this one. Definitely different than her other books, but I love all of her books. Next up is a queer romance. It's called The Build a Boyfriend Project, and I actually finished this one already at the time of me recording this. But it follows a journalist who's in a dead-end job. He ends up going on like a blind first date with this guy. It goes disastrously poorly, and his boss ends up pitching him an idea to basically like teach that guy how to date. He ends up agreeing to it with his own idea of where to like bring that story to life that he wasn't going to tell his boss because he knew it wouldn't get approved. Of course, along the way of teaching that guy how to be a better boyfriend, he is going to fall for him, and this story is just so cute. That journalist was originally like kind of hung up on his ex. He had dated him for like, I want to say 7 years, something really long. And his ex seemed to have moved on and been completely fine, and he was just struggling. So this book was adorable. Loved it. Next up, we have Cash, which is a like cowboy but city girl romance. It follows a woman who is headed back to her hometown because her dad just passed away and he left her an inheritance. She was estranged from him, but he left her his cattle ranch, but the catch is that she has to go live there for a year in order to inherit it. And so she is butting heads with the guy who thought he was inheriting the cattle ranch, the person who's actually like hands-on helping her dad with the farm. But of course, they're gonna end up falling for each other. Then we have a rugby romance, which I've never read before, but it's called Red Card, and it follows this guy who basically got like a permanent red card from the game in London, and the only team that's willing to have him is a school in New Hampshire. So he moves there, and his new coach doesn't really like him. The players on his team don't trust him, so he has to earn back their respect in the sport, but he also is gonna fall in love with the coach's daughter, which I'm sure does not help his case. Then we have a couple of football romances, which I think are interconnected standalones. We have Only in Your Dreams and Only Between Us. This first one is small town college football, and the second one's a fake dating dislike to love romance. And then lastly, for romance, we have A New Leaf, which I wanted just because of the cover alone, but the premise sounds adorable too. It follows a woman who's headed back to her hometown. Her life has not gone according to plan, but she's there and she's gonna open up this little like plant shop. And this dog comes like crashing into her plant shop, destroying a bunch of things. His owner comes, of course, to like apologize probably to get the dog, and they end up falling for each other. It looks so cute. So like small town, lots of animals in it, and plant shop owner. Like say less, I'm sold. And then our last little category is kind of miscellaneous. We have a contemporary fiction, a nonfiction, and a book of poetry. First up for the poetry, we have Things You Never Got to Hear. It's book 2 in a poetry trilogy. I read book 1 last month and loved it so much. But this one's poems of love, lust, and loss. I've heard this one's a lot more like gritty and emotional, and I'm super excited to read it. The last one I tabbed like crazy, like I absolutely loved it. Then we have a nonfiction. I'm trying to make an effort to read nonfiction. I don't think I've read a single one this year, which is like so terrible. This one's like a history type of book. It's the story of Theodore Roosevelt's sons who went on an expedition to try to prove the existence of panda bears back in 1929. And then lastly, we have a contemporary fiction called The Phoenix Pencil Company. I think this actually might have fantasy elements to it. It says has hidden and nearly forgotten magic, reforging pencils, bringing the memories they contain back to life. It's going to hold the power to transform a young woman's relationship with her grandmother and to mend long-lost connections across time and space. That sounds so fun. So I might have been wrong about the genre of this one, but either way, I can't wait to read this. All right, that was all the books on my TBR for this month. Again, I'm sorry I'm so late in posting this video, but I of course will have a wrap up at the end of the month with which ones I actually got through. I think there's like 36 books on this list, and if I stick just to these, then I probably will read about 30 of them. But I am chronically bad about picking way too many books to put on my TBR, so will I ever have a month where I actually read every single book on my monthly TBR? Probably not. I tried that last month. I put 30 books on the TBR, and I read 27 books and still had like 12 of them that I didn't read because I just was picking books that weren't on my monthly TBR. So it's a problem. Maybe one month I'll actually make it happen, but it's looking like August won't be that month based on how many I chose. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe because I do post a new video every Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next video.